Welcome to the October show for TV Toastmasters, Club 9523. We are very pleased that you have decided to join us today. We hope that you will find it both interesting and even to the point where you might come and visit us. I think that would be a great opportunity for you. Our program is being filmed in September. It will be played during the month of October. And if you've looked at your calendar, you know what comes at the end of the month. In order to give you the idea that we are going to actually have some participants in our show today, let me introduce our Toastmaster for today's meeting. Ben Davis is a Toastmaster Gold, and he is going to be the Toastmaster for our meeting this month. Let me introduce Ben.
Thank you very much, Steve. And welcome to tonight's meeting of Toastmasters. All right, it doesn't always work that way, but thank you very much for joining us both here in the audience and, of course, our viewing public at home. For today's meeting, we're going to jump right into things. We're pleased to see that we have several guests here in the audience today, and we'll recognize them throughout the morning. But I'd like to jump right into the meeting by asking our grammarian and word for the day master to come and join us at the lectern again. He's a man you've seen before, Mr. Steve Aaronholt. Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our honored guests, both here in the studio and watching in from home. The word for today is appellation. Appellation is a noun. It is the word by which a particular person or thing is called and known, a name, title, or designation. An example of an appellation would be if a person had the title of Sir, or doctor, or some other dignitary title that they might have. It also can be the act of naming. The word for the day is appellation. Mr. Toastmaster?
Thank you very much, Steve. And I do encourage all of our participants today to see if we can work in the phrase appellation or the term appellation into our conversations. To move right along, our next item on the agenda is our table topics. Now, for those who may not have been joining us before, table topics for Toastmasters is our opportunity to stand up, think on our feet, and respond in an impromptu fashion to a question asked us by one of our members. Not a knowledge-based question, more like an opinion-based question, so we're not going to be testing what are the top 10 exports of Bolivia, but see what we have to say about the topics of the day or whatever takes our table topics master's fancy to ask. And today our table topics master is Verna Gibson. Verna.
Thank you, Ben. Welcome, everybody, to our TV Toastmasters. Today our table topics has to do with being a survivor. This is the Survivor series here. All right, first question. You have been chosen to be a contestant on Survivor. This Survivor show will take place in Belize, a small country in Central America. You're told that you may take one item with you. What will you take with you, Joni Buchanan, and why?
Thank you, Table Topic Master and fellow Toastmasters and our guests in the audience. I have had the opportunity to go to a foreign country, but I can only take one item with me to help me out as a survivor. What would I take? Let me see. I think it would have to be something that would have to last for a while. It would have to be something that it would keep me company, that would help me survive and be able to live in this island. I think if I had a choice, I would think I would take some type of reading material, because of the fact that sometimes if you're there by yourself, you get very lonely. You know, you don't have anybody around. And if I took a few books with me, then they would keep me company, and I could read them over and over and over again. But they would be my companions. They would be able to lend their ear to me, even though it might be written form. They would still keep me some company. And if I had the chance, I think in the future, if I ever had to go on a plane or go in a car or go any place, you never know where disaster's going to hit you, that maybe I might just put one of these articles close to me so that if in the future, if anything like that ever happens to me, I'd have it with me at all times.
Thank you, Joni. All right, during the time that you are a contestant on Survivor, you will be allowed to have one person visit you for 24 hours. Steve, who will you want to have visit you and why? Steve.
Thank you, Madam Tabletopics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and our honored guests. Who would I like to have come visit me if I was on an island? Oh my. Could they bring some things with them? I think I would like to have my wife come and visit me. I think that would be real nice. I would appreciate the companionship, and I could talk with her, and she would probably really like it too, because what would happen is she'd have my undivided attention. She wouldn't be asking me, "Are you listening to what I'm saying? Did you hear what I said? What did I just say?" So I would actually have to listen. I couldn't be off somewhere in my mind. But I think that we could also explore the island together, and the only thing that might get me in a little bit of trouble is she would probably expect that I'd be able to fix any kind of dilemma that would arise on the island, and if we're resource deficient, I might be a bit challenged to come up with some of the solutions. The other thing is she's fairly particular as far as what she eats, so I might have a little bit of trouble finding something that she would be willing to eat that wasn't too adventuresome. But then we haven't really talked about how long we're going to be on this island, so although from what Joni indicated, we'd be there for a while, and I'd probably ask Teresa to bring some books along too. Madam Tabletopics Master?
Thank you, Steve. I can relate to your wife's problem about the eating. I've always thought, I've watched several of the Survivor series, and I've thought it would be fun to do that, to be on the Survivor series, but I think the one thing that would do me in would be the food. So maybe if I could take a big case of food bars. All right. Now, after 20 days as a survivor in Belize on this Survivor series, you have won the challenge and can now choose whatever you want to eat for the next 3 meals. John Hart, what would you choose to eat and why?
Well, it's a pleasure to be in front of all these wonderful people, and I have to think what I want to eat. Well, my favorite food is a filet mignon with nice vegetables, and I usually like to have it opened up for me. Butterflied is a technical word for that. And the reason for that is that I usually take half of it home for the next day, so I've got something to eat the next day. And then I like a wonderful set of vegetables with it, and I also, for dessert, like chocolate cake with a little ice cream on it. That would be nice. And then also for dessert, I wouldn't mind having a little glass of wine. And there's also a nice butter sauce that goes on top of the filet mignon that I like very, very much. So I think I'd be very happy with that. Do you have any other questions or suggestions for that? Okay.
John is our guest today. This is his first time to be here, and he very graciously agreed that he would come up and answer one of the survivor questions. All right, I have one more. Ray, I see you back there. Would you like to come up and answer a table topic question? Okay, Ray. Ray, would you want to be a contestant on Survivor? Why or why not? Ray Boston.
Thank you, Tabletopics Master. Well, would I like to be a contestant on a show like The Survivors? Actually not, because that would just be perpetuating the propensity of Survivor-type shows, none of which I watch. I think they should be banned. And as far as survival, just like the gentleman spoke of filet mignon, the survival shows would never be a problem for me, because I'd love to go to Belize. It's on one of my, it's on my list for places that I want to go. And if I was stranded there, I always have stuff in my pockets. And you can see that my appetite is always good. So I could probably just take stuff out of my pockets, Snickers bars, sandwiches that I've had there for about 3 or 4 months, so hermetically sealed in those Ziploc bags. So I would never have a problem, unlike the Gilligan's Island where they had magically were able to survive. I come prepared. I keep stuff in my pockets. I have books and reading material with me all the time. So survival, I'm going to survive with or without the survival shows, but as far as I'm concerned, I can live without them.
All right, that's all of the table topics, and I do have to confess that I do like to watch the Survivor shows. I'm a Survivor junkie. All right, at this time, I'm going to turn the lectern back over to our Toastmaster, Ben Davis.
Thank you very much, Verna. And you'll be amused by this. My family vacation is coming up the very first week of October. We're going down to the Outer Banks. My wife has developed a program for all the kids. We have 11 nieces and nephews who will be coming with us, or actually 7 who will be coming with us. And of them and all the adults, we're having a Survivor Outer Banks. Who do we vote off first? And what will this mean for family relations for years to come? That's the question. Well, those were our table topics. Now we'll be moving into what we like to call the prepared portion of the meeting, or our speeches. And we're very lucky tonight. We do have a guest speaker with us, and I'd like to introduce her and allow her to come up and share her presentation with us. Stephanie McLain is a freshman at Indian Hill High School. She'll be giving a monologue entitled An Ideal Husband by Oscar Wilde. Stephanie prepared this monologue in preparation for a play tryout at school last year. It's my pleasure to introduce Stephanie McLain, An Ideal Husband. An Ideal Husband, Stephanie McLain.
It's a pleasure to be here today. Well, Tommy has proposed to me again. Tommy really does nothing but propose to me. He proposed to me last night in the music room when I was quite unprotected, as there was an elaborate trio going on. I didn't dare to make the smallest repartee. I need hardly tell you. If I had, it would have stopped the music at once. Musical people are so absurdly unreasonable. They want one to be perfectly dumb at the very moment when one is longing to be absolutely deaf. And then Tommy proposed to me in front of this morning in front of that dreadful statue of Achilles. Really, the things that go on in front of that work of art are quite appalling. The police should interfere. At luncheon, I saw by the glare in Tommy's eyes that he was going to propose again, and I just managed to check him in time by assuring him that I was a bimetallist. Fortunately, I don't know what bimetallism means, and I don't believe anybody else does either. But the observation crushed Tommy for 10 minutes. He looked quite shocked. And then, Tommy is so annoying in the way he proposes. If he proposed at the top of his voice, I should not mind so much. That might produce some effect on the public. But he does it in a horrid, confidential way. I'm very fond of Tommy, but his methods of proposing are quite out of date. I wish, Gertrude, you would speak to him and tell him that once a week is quite often enough to propose to anyone, and that it should be done in a manner that attracts some attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Now again, you'll be seeing a familiar face for our next presentation. That would be me. To evaluate my speech, I'm going to request that Joni Buchanan come join us and tell us what the objectives shall be. Joni.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Van is doing a speech in project number 4 in our basic manual here. The objectives of this presentation are: select the right words and sentence structure to communicate your ideas clearly, accurately, and vividly. Use rhetorical devices to enhance and emphasize ideas. Eliminate jargon and unnecessary words. Use correct English. And the time is 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you very much, Joni. Well, I do the Wonder Woman spin to take on my role as speaker, but we'll just begin right here. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. Maybe you remember that scene from that famous movie. The newsman standing in front of the camera, his hair askew, arms in the air flailing, as he'd made his great declaration that he was not going to take it anymore. I remember it, and I've never actually seen the movie. That's pretty impressive. But it's always made an impression on me. I was born in the time of Watergate. That great opportunity for the news media to take charge, to show what value they give to culture, to our society, that they justify their reason for existence by finding out cover-ups and bringing truth to the people. And then there came everything since Watergate. Allow me to put it this way. We've had Watergate, Iran-Contra-gate, Monica-gate, and now Rather-gate. Let me talk a bit about the media in today's society. When I was a child, I always appreciated the media. I felt like they were actually out there as the purveyors of truth. They were the ones who helped us by letting us know those things we wouldn't necessarily have coming to us ordinarily. By giving us the information we could not get ourselves, they were providing us the information we needed to make informed decisions, to make our lives better, to live the kind of lives we wished to lead. But then I grew up and discovered that these great purveyors of truth, these great people who were focusing so much on telling me what was really happening in the world, were human too. And quite honestly, humanity is frail. We have a hard time with giving things such as facts without including things such as opinion. Now, it's amazing because in the news, there's a place for opinion. On a newspaper editorial page, and the editorial minute, the opinion minute, that on many broadcasts you get to see. It's a wonderful place. However, you don't get the opportunity to give your opinion during the newscast, in my personal opinion. When it comes down to the quality of our news delivery today, I have been sorely left lacking in my belief in our current media. We hear the phrases bandied about these days: Republican, conservative, liberal, Democrat, and in an election year it becomes more along the lines of left-wing, right-wing, as in fast right-wing conspiracy, liberal bias, and of course my personal favorite, right-wing nut job and left-wing loony. Words continually are served to define other people and their points of view and to denigrate them. And you know, we're used to that. Humans will do these things to the people who are different or who do not believe the way that we do. And there's a certain amount to be expected. Not to be permitted necessarily, not to be appreciated, but to be expected. And yet, when we get these type of things from our news media, those people who are supposed to be telling us the truth, what are we to believe? Can they not rise above their personal backgrounds? Apparently not. For those who don't realize what I'm speaking of right now, I'm talking about the great conspiracy with the memos with CBS currently about President Bush's military background. Memos that, from all of the experts whose opinions I have read, are most likely faked, but were brought out on TV as the pure truth. And you know, even our newscasters can be misled. I find the failure of their ability to actually research this information quite appalling, but I can understand. Everyone is human. We're all going to make mistakes. What I cannot understand and cannot forgive is their lack of ability to own up to their mistakes, to stand up and say, yes, there are questions here that must be answered. We apologize. We will look into it. We will do our best to come to the truth. Instead, we have a response such as, well, it seems that the material we have may not be entirely correct. It may not be actually accurate in terms of the memos themselves. They may have been created. And yet, the questions that the memos arise, the ideas behind them, are still true. So you must answer these questions. All right? So, someone has managed to fake pieces of fact to help point out a particular point of view, which is true, but yet has no way of backing it up. That's not news. That's yellow journalism. That's opinion. That's pure fantasy. And I enjoy fantasy, but I expect to read it in a book, not to see it on my evening news at 6 o'clock. At this point, I do at least feel quite hopeful for the future in that with the advent of the internet, we have many more sources of news and information than we used to. You may have heard them referred to as weblogs. You may have heard them referred to as blogs. Doesn't matter. What we have are individuals, people who are out there doing their own research into subjects, looking into what may really have happened, looking into what else they can find out about different subjects that have been going on in the major news media or have been ignored by the major news media, and have been then diligently reporting it with their own particular slant. Yes, sometimes left-wing, sometimes right-wing, sometimes a loony, sometimes a nut job. But with this much information and this much searching going on, I have great hopes that eventually we will get to the point where we can, in fact, find the truth. In this particular case, I read a number of them every day, including, and I begin every morning with Drudge. Why? Because he links to a lot of different news stories from around the world, and it lets us get in a lot of different information very quickly. Quite honestly, ladies and gentlemen, the one picture I'd like to leave you with is simply this. At one time, the current news media were respected individuals, the bastions of truth, the reporters who were going out to search out what was really going on, what were the stories behind the stories. I no longer feel that that is the case. This is my opinion, and I don't claim to make it news, but it is my opinion. So I urge you to go out, think critically, read critically, find other sources of information, and come to your own conclusion. Because when all is said and done, your ability to make an informed decision about things that are going to be affecting your life is entirely in your hands. And if you aren't mad as hell by now, I don't understand why not. Mr. Toastmaster.
What future do you envision for yourself? What dreams do you have? If you want your dreams to come true, you must have confidence in yourself and your abilities. A Toastmasters Club can help you build that confidence. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters shows you how to express yourself clearly and effectively. Make your dreams a reality. Join a Toastmasters Club.
At this point, we're actually going to have a small interlude. I'm going to ask that Verna Gibson come up and share with us something a little bit to lighten the mood on this October day as you are watching our show. So Verna Gibson, our joke master today.
Topics Master. I'm Mr. Toastmaster. Sorry, Mr. Toastmaster. This is called Heavenly Baseball. Two 90-year-old men, Mo and Sam, have been friends all their lives. It seems that Sam is dying, so Mo comes to visit him. Sam, says Mo, You know how we have both loved baseball and all our lives? Sam, you got to do me one favor. When you go, somehow you've got to tell me if there's baseball in heaven. Sam looks up at Mo from his deathbed and says, Mo, you've been my friend many years. This favor I'll do for you. And with that, Sam passes on. It is midnight, a couple of nights later. Mo is sound asleep when a distant voice calls out to him, Mo, Mo. Who is it? Says Mo, sitting up suddenly. Who is it? Mo, it's Sam. Come on, you're not Sam. Sam died. I'm telling you, insists the voice. It's me, Sam. Sam, is that you? Where are you? I'm in heaven, said Sam, and I've got to tell you, I've got some good news and some bad news. Tell me the good news first, says Mo. The good news, says Sam, is that there is baseball in heaven. Really? Says Mo. That's wonderful. What's the bad news? You're pitching on Tuesday.
Thank you very much, Verna. Now I'd like to introduce our evaluator to come up and give her evaluation of today's presentation. She'll not just be evaluating me as a speaker, but also the meeting as a whole. And I'd certainly like to welcome back to the lectern, Joni Buchanan. Joni.
Thanks, man. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, especially Ben. Great subject, especially this time of year. You know, we see it all the time, and we're getting tired of it, but it's getting close to our election time, so that's good. I thought the idea behind this speech was really unique, the way you handled it. You came on with very emotions. You really said, bad as hell, you know, and he used a simile, you know, and that's what's part of this presentation. He used strong, strong words. The right job, the truth, pure thought. Let them own up to their mistakes. To find the truth, he gave us something to work with. I thought the way he handled it was really unique. I would have suggested maybe that closer to the beginning of the speech, he would have told us what his ideas were based on how he felt at the very beginning. For example, maybe he could have said something to the effect, have you been watching TV lately? Do you like what you see on the air? You know, I am a little upset about how things are going. And then really get into how you're doing things. He did use different ideas, different powerful words, and you could feel his emotions that he was really upset. I thought that you started it a little slow. You came beautiful words, vivid words, very emotions. You ended it with a very strong ending. You said, I want you people to go out there and think critically and read critically. And it couldn't have been any clearer than we wanted it to be. So I think you did an excellent job. There's a few areas that you might want to look at and address, but on the whole, I really enjoyed your speech. Keep up the great job.
Thank you very much. And now for our next speaker, Stanley Glitchner.
Speaking in public doesn't have to be a death sentence. At Toastmasters, we can help you overcome your fears.
I also wanted to tell you about our meeting today. As a general evaluator, what the person's role is simply to observe everything going on within the meeting, to see how the people come up, how the people stand. Is it running according to the time schedule? And yes, we did have to make some changes today, and they were done very efficiently, and we tried to bring people in it that had never done it before, so I thought that was quite unique, because the public needs to see that it's not just us Toastmasters that are really wanting to grow. It's other people. It's you out there in the audience that really want to know what's going on and how to communicate with people. And our young lady today, I thought that was so great. It wasn't a long one, but it was simple, and we could understand what she was saying. So I thought it was very well done, so keep up the great work, especially a freshman, you know. That's great to see youth going. So I thought we had a great opportunity there to share with the public with a young lady here in our audience. I thought that was really nice of you. On the whole, I think everything went well. Hard trouble using our word appellation today. I could say, well, does our president have appellations attached to him at this point, or is he downhill, or whatever's going on with him? But remember, the idea of the speech is a personal opinion, and I think Ben did an excellent job, and I think our meeting went very well.
Thank you very much, Joni. And that brings us to the close of another meeting here with TV Toastmasters. As your Toastmaster, I'd simply like to say thank you, first of all, to all of our guests watching in their living rooms, and secondly, thank you to all those members who have attended, and to our guests who have been here for the first time, especially for your presentation today. We certainly did appreciate the opportunity, Stephanie, to hear you speak. So thank you very much for coming. Come back anytime you'd like. And as you're watching this throughout the month of October, I encourage you, go out, support your favorite football team. Do whatever you have to do. Get ready for Halloween, but just remember basketball season's around the corner, and that's, of course, the most important part of it. I'd like to return control now to our president, Mr. Steve Aaronholt. Steve!
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, our honored guests in the studio today, our guests watching in from home, and Stephanie, I'm really glad that you came and shared your presentation with us today, and I hope you'll come back and visit us again. And if you want to get the word out about TV Toastmasters to your parents and their friends, that'd be great. The purpose of Toastmasters is to provide a supportive, nurturing environment for its members to excel in their public speaking and leadership abilities. And I would encourage you, if you're at all curious about Toastmasters, to consider coming to visit us or contacting Toastmasters in Cincinnati and coming and giving us a visit. See what we're about. We're about helping people achieve their goals. This is the conclusion of our September meeting, which will be broadcast in October. We meet the first Monday of every month at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church in Kenwood, and our studio meeting each month is the third Saturday of each month at the Anderson Union Township Community Television Studios, although in the month of October we will actually be meeting on Saturday the 9th. And if you'd like to come and visit us, please feel free to do so. With that, I'm going to adjourn our meeting. Thank you.
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer. He says, "Hey, hello, sorry." But seriously, folks.
Speaking in public is no joke.
Doctor says, chicken says.
For help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
The chicken